Hello guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Lillian and today I want to talk to you about immigration questions that you might likely be asked by the visa officer when you get into the airport in Canada. Okay, now I'm going to be sharing from my experience and of course some of the experience of people I know. So please watch this video to the very end to get the information. Now, one of the things that the visa officer is concerned about when he's interrogating or interviewing you is that by admitting you to Canada, you will not pose any harm while you are here in Canada. The reason for admitting you into Canada outweighs the negative impact of admitting you into the country. So you want to be very careful when you're answering questions. One of the things I tell people is you need to be very confident and you need to make an eye contact when you're talking to the visa officer. It's very important. It shows that you know what you're saying and that you are confident about what you're saying. The first thing they would ask from you is your passport. They want to know if your passport is valid and if it has not expired, and they also want to check that the stamp on your passport is also very valid. So I was asked for my passport. That was the first thing I was asked. So the second question you'll be asked or likely to be asked is, who are you and why are you here? Who are you coming to visit? And you want to be very certain. You don't want to be stuttering when you're talking. So you're going to mention your name. Make sure that you're saying your name the way it is in your passport. So you're saying your name, who you are, what you do, and why you are here or who you are here to see. If you are coming to see a family friend or a family, you need to state why you're here. If you're coming here on a tourist visa, you need to state why you're here. Make it very clear that you're a tourist and you've come to see Canada and to sightsee and have fun. The next question they might ask you is, have you been convicted before? If you have never been convicted, you should tell them, no, you have not been convicted, and be bold about it. They might also want to ask you if you have ever been denied visa to Canada. You want to remember, always remember anything that you have done prior to when you came to Canada. So if you've ever been denied visa, remember the date, the year, the month. Okay, it's very important. So you want to be articulate in your response to the visa officer. So tell them when you were denied, if you were ever denied, and if you've never been denied, let them know you have not been denied. The third question you can be asked, or I was asked, is why am I visiting or why am I here in Canada? For my case, I was on work permit, so I just said that I came on a work permit, and that is because my husband has been here and he has a work permit. So of course I got an open work permit to come join my husband. So for you, depending on your situation, you can explain your purpose. If you are here on study, you need to let them know that you are here to study, and depending on your answer, they would be asking you other questions. So for me, the next thing they asked me when I told them I came here to stay with my husband was, why do I want to stay with my husband? Of course, I'm sure the visa officer knows why I want to be with my husband, but he wanted to hear from me. That's the confidence thing we're talking about. So I told him the importance of family unification. We wanted to stay together. We are a young couple with young children, and one of our values is that we want to have our children grow up with us. We want to be able to train our children together so that they can grow up with us around. Do you understand? Both parents. So that's, for me, that was it. And when I said that, he smiled and he was like, he was like, that's very good. So the purpose of your trip or the purpose of why you came has to be in tangent with your visa type. You don't want to be saying that, okay, I'm here to work, when you have a visitor's visa. So because if you have a visitor's visa, the restriction on visitor's visa says that you cannot work while in Canada. Okay, so you cannot be telling the visa officer that you are here to work when you have a visitor's visa. Okay, so you must make sure that what you are saying, applies to your visa type. The next question they might want to ask you is, what is the purpose of this trip? Now, for you, if you're coming on a visitor's visa, that's the likely question you might be asked. What is the purpose for this trip? Where are you going to be staying? What will you be doing while you are here in Canada? For visitors, you should be able to tell them the location. If you're going to be using an Airbnb, you should be able to tell them the address of the Airbnb, okay? You can even show them the reservation that you have made, for the Airbnb or the hotel that you plan to stay. If you are going to be staying with a family, you must have the address of the family, the names of the occupants of the building, of the address you are giving to them. You must be very articulate about your response. For me, they didn't ask me this question because I'd already told them that I was here to stay with my husband. Of course, I was going to work if I get here and I am settled, okay? So that could be your question if you are not coming here on a work permit or a study permit. So if you're a student in this particular question category, if you're a student, they might want to ask you for your acceptance letter. You don't want to be that student or that person who comes into Canada without your documents. And if you're coming to Canada, ensure that you have all the documents that you might be asked. Your acceptance letter is one of the things that they might ask you. And if you don't have your acceptance letter, that might be a critical situation for you. So make sure that you have your documents in a file that is in your hand luggage, something you are carrying while you are boarded in the plane, not something you are checking in, okay, so that you don't start running helter-skelter. Now, for students, they can also go on to say, how did you pay for your school fees? How were you able to pay for your school fees? If you work while you're back in your country, you need to state to them that this is what you were doing back home in your country. You were being paid this amount of monies, and you were able to save up for this particular dream of yours, and this is why you are here. If your school fees was paid by your parents, you should let them know that your parents paid your school fees, even though they didn't pay the full sum, or maybe they paid for 1 year, or they paid for it's a semester or whatever. You want to let them know that, okay, they paid for this amount, but you intend to, of course, get a student job while you're schooling, and you will be able to just let them know your arrangement or your plans on how to settle the balance of your school fees while you're in Canada. You must be very, very articulate in your response. Let me share with you one of the things that happened to me that almost ruined my chances of getting into Canada. I want you to understand that the fact that you have a visa, does not mean that you can get into Canada. At the port of entry, you can be turned back to your home country. So you want to be very, 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 very careful when you get into Canada, because you're getting a visa is not a guarantee that you put your feet on the soil of Canada or you get into Canada. So one of the things that happened to me was the fact that they asked for my work permit, and I did not know that my work permit, don't be like me guys, my work permit was not in the file that we carried. I don't know what happened. I think the night before I was working on something and I took it out. I forgot to put it back. So when I was asked, I started searching our file for my documents, and I found my children's documents, their visas, their study permit and all. I did not find my work permit, and that threw me aback. The visa officer was looking at me and was wondering what the problem was. That particular issue could have sent me back to my home country, guys. You don't want to be like me. I was devastated. I was, that can, make you throw you off balance, and you will not know what to do again. Your confidence level will just go down. So he was asking me different questions. I didn't know what to say. I kept saying, I think he's here, I think he's there. He said, how can you not have it? And he said, give me a minute. He went to another room, went to discuss with some people. He came back. I was worried. I was thinking, I was like, what will happen? Because I've had so many issues. So many people say things like that, depending on who is talking to you, and depending on them, they can just send you back. And once they stamp that if you go back, you will go back. Nothing will happen, because that's the visa officer. Actually, I think they are trained to be psychologists, so they watch you to know what is happening and all that. So he was just looking at me, and then he called me into the office, and then they started interrogating me. I told them how I got it, when I got it. My husband has been here for a year and some months, almost 2 years. I told them how I got the visa and everything. And then later, one other person came in and said, let her go. Because they said, was there any other way I could show them the proof that I have it? And I said, oh yes, I had it in my laptop. Fortunately for me, my laptop was in one of my carry-on bags, so I just took it out and I brought out my work permit for them, as in on screen for them to see. And that was when they said, okay, I could go. Now guys, what if that person didn't come into that room and said that? I would have been sent back to my home country, and everything I have done to get into Canada would have been a waste, guys. Maybe I would have had to consult a lawyer, an immigration lawyer, to help me out, but then I would have to go back to my country to be able to do that, and I would have to spend so much money in dollars to be able to get an immigration lawyer to be able to help me out. You don't want to be in this particular situation. The next question they might ask you is, what ties do you have in Canada? They want to know if you have a family member in Canada. Remember that when you were filling your forms, they would have asked you in those forms before you applied for the visa if you have family in Canada. If you did not declare in the form that you had family in Canada, please do not declare while you're at the port of entry that you have family in Canada. But if you declared, you are free to declare that you have family in Canada. They want to just know, okay? They're using these things to track your responses, to know what you've written, as in just to pose what you are saying from what you have filled. Another question they want to ask you, especially if you are a visitor, is what ties do you have with your home country? Now, this question is very, 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 it can be very, very confusing, but I want you to understand that the reason why they're asking you this question is to know the high chances you have of going back to your home country. You want to tell them, if you have a job, you work in your home country, you want to tell them the kind of job you want, you have, the kind the amount of salary you earn, who you work for, your position, and then they might want to ask you your family back in your home country. They want to know the number of people you have back home, okay, that will pull you back home if you were done here in Canada. You want to state, if you have aged parents, you want to state that you have your parents who are aged and who depend on you for moral support and emotional support. You want to state that. If you have your kids back home, you want to state that you have your kids. Those are strong ties to your home country. If you have properties, if you have investments, you want to state that you have this and that, okay, because they want to know what your chances of going back to your home country is when you get into Canada. The next question they want to ask you, if you are on a study permit, maybe you are not done paying your school fees, or you are a visitor, they want to ask you, how do you want to take care of yourself while in Canada? You want to articulately explain to them the way you are going to be taking care of yourself. If you are on a study permit, are you going to be taking up your job? Do you have co-op in your study? There's some people who have, who have study permits, and there's a co-op. Co-op means that you can actually, there's a particular time in your study where you can work, okay, for an employer full time. It's a co-op program. Some people also work while they're in school, 20 hours. Some people do not work. I know some people that do not work at all. They just come in, they have the money, they plan themselves, they come in, they school, they finish their schooling, and they get into a full-time job. So you want to explain to them your plan, what plans you have. You want to work. Are your parents going to be sending you money from back home to support you while you are here? Do you have a spouse that is here, that is coming, that is here with you, or that is going to be helping you, or is going to be working while you're schooling? All of those things are going to be, you need to explain them. If peradventure you are a parent, okay, or you have your parents coming to visit you in Canada, they might ask them these questions at the port of entry. They want to explain that your children are going to be responsible for their upkeep while they're here in Canada. And for insurance, because there's something called health insurance, because if you're on a visitor's visa, you don't have access to free healthcare. So you want to be sure that you have done your health insurance before coming into the country. This will help in case there is a need for you to access healthcare. To help you access healthcare at a very, very, very cheap rate. Okay, so if you have aged parents coming to visit you, make sure that you're getting them the health insurance, so they can also show these evidences at the port of entry. All of these things will make your entry into Canada very easy peasy, guys. I'm always here to bring you all the tea, all the information that you need to get into this country easy peasy. Now, one very funny question they ask visitors when they get into Canada is, do you plan to work or study? Please do not get confused and say you want to study or you want to work. You came in here to visit. We know that there is a law that says that you can come with a visitor's visa and transition to a work permit. Okay, you can even come in and get a study permit. Yes, but please don't just stick to the restriction that is attached to your visa, or restrict to the terms that are attached to your visa type. You're a visitor, so just tell them you are here to visit. You came here to stay with your family, to come. You came for a graduation, you came for a wedding. State what you came for and stop. Don't talk too much. Don't say too much so that you don't overtalk. If you're a visitor, one of the documents you want to have is your return ticket back to your country. They want to know if you have a return ticket. If you're coming in as a visitor, you must even have a return ticket. So they want to see, if you're telling them you're going to be spending 2 weeks, your return ticket should be showing that you have to stay 2 weeks. Okay, just be sure that you have all these things in your head. Another thing you want to have is your proof of funds. For those that are coming as students, okay, you want to have your proof of funds. That would show that you have enough money to at least take care of you while you are in Canada for some time before you get a job. And if you're a spouse who is coming in as on an open work permit, you want to have the acceptance letter of your spouse's school. Please don't forget it at all. That is a very crucial document you must hold with you when you're coming into Canada. Now, the last question they might ask you is, when are you leaving Canada? Remember what is in your document. Remember what you filled. Remember what is in your visa type. You want to state categorically the date of your departure out of Canada if you are on a visitor's visa. Guys, I hope this video will help you, prepare, plan, and make your way easy when you get into the port of entry and you get into Canada. I look forward to welcoming you to Canada. See you on the next one.